Om Ajnanatamrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Nobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurun Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Satvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakanyatanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasa Adi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So we are there in the Bhagavad Gita, third chapter, 13th sloka, and it's really very wonderful sloka. One of my favorite. I often quote this sloka. So here we see text 13. Yajna shishta shinasanta muchyante sarva kilbishai mujjante tvayaham papa e pachanti atma karana. The devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment is verily eats only sin. Hmm. So here we see that yajna shishna means of food taken after performance of yajna. That is that which is the remnants of the yajna. So that is called the prasad, yajna shishta. And then um, Asinaha, eaters, and then Santaha, the devotees, Muchante, get relief and Sarva of all kinds of Kilbishaihi from sins. So this one. So that is why the devotees they always take food that has been cooked by who is chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, and also they eat the food that has been first offered to the Lord. That's a very important thing. Otherwise, it is no, it is just a sin. What? Bunjante tve aham papa e pachanti atma karanat. One who prepares the food only for his sense enjoyment, no, he only eats the sin. No, he doesn't have what is that? No, this muchante sarvakil vishai, that is not there. Right? So in this way, we see that we should take only prasadam that has been cooked for the pleasure of the Lord, that has been offered to the Lord, and then we consume it. So then it becomes purifying. Okay. Purport: the devotees of the Supreme Lord or persons who are in Krishna consciousness are called santas, and they are always in love with the Lord, as it is described in Brahma Samhita 538. Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santaha Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti. So that means Prema Anjana is like one whose eyes is decorated with love for the Supreme Lord. So such people, they can Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti. So they can actually see the Lord all the time in their heart. So that is this one. So this is a definition of a Santa. The santas being always in compact of love with the Supreme Personality of God, at Govinda, the giver of all pleasure, or Mukunda, the giver of liberation, or Krishna, the all attractive person, cannot accept anything without first offering it to the Supreme Person. Therefore, such devotees always perform yajnas in different modes of devotional service, such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Archanam, etc. So you see, like these are all yajnas. So now we are performing the process of Shravanam. So we are hearing about the Supreme Lord. So this is also a yajna. And Kirtanam, when we speak about the Supreme Lord, that is also an yajna. And remembering the Lord, that is also an yajna. So in this way, like these are all different ways in which we can please the Lord. So Navavidha Bhakti, that is there. And these performance of yajnas keep them always aloof from all kinds of contaminations of sinful association in the material world. So just by doing this, hearing, chanting, remembering, and offering worship to the Lord, so we are getting freed from so much of sins of this world. Okay, others who prepare food for self or sense gratification are not only thieves but also eaters of all kinds of sins. So why this word thief is used? So basically, like current day and age, nobody is offering food to the Lord and eating. And in fact, even those traditional families where the offering used to happen, so even they are also doing only namesake, something, or during festivals they will offer something to the Lord and things like that. So it has become like that. So it is not that everything that is being cooked is being offered to the Lord. So that's the degradation of the this one. So why this word thieves is used is because um, it's like a standard example I always give is, if there is a bank, no cashier is there, and a lot of cash is there, no coming to his hand. If he utilizes those cash, no, for himself directly, he's called thief. He should give it to the bank, and then he should take only his paycheck, his salary. No, that is prasad. So in this way, like whatever comes, it is Lord's property, and it should be what is that? It should be applied in Lord's service. No, otherwise, no, we will become thieves, and we will only eat sin. How can a person be happy if he is both thief and sinful? No, it's very, very difficult. So people, generally ask like, why there is so much of problem in life. So it's like all the time we are doing sin, and what else we can expect in the life? It is only like no problems that we can expect. We can never be happy in that way. It is not possible. Therefore, in order for people to become happy in all respects, they must be taught to perform the easy process of Sankirtan Yajna in full Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, there can be no peace or happiness in the world. Okay, text 14. Annat bhavanti bhutani parjanyat anna sambhavah yajnat bhavati parjanyo yajna karma samudbhavah. This is also very, very scientific sloka. Annat bhavanti bhutani. All of us, we live based on anna, based on the food grains. And then parjanyat anna sambhavaha. So by rain, no, we get the grains. No, if there is no rains, then the agriculture cannot happen. Parjanyat anna sambhavaha. Yajnat bhavati parjanyo. So by performance of yajna, no, like by we people sitting and doing this Shravanam and Kirtanam here, so we are actually able to keep up the rains. No, by doing more Sankirtan, we will get better rains. No, Yajnat bhavati parjanyo. So it is very clearly mentioned here. And then Yajna karma samudbhavaha. So yajna is the actual duty of every living entity, right? So let's see the translation. All living bodies subsist on food grains, which are produced from rains. Rains are produced by performance of yajna, sacrifice, and yajna is born of prescribed duties. So this is how the Varnashram system is organized. That everybody is given, they are asked to perform yajna, so that people can, the societies can live peacefully. Because sufficient rains will be there, sufficient grains will be there, and if there is sufficient natural resources, then there is no need of no so much of anxiety, right? So it's a very, very scientific sloka. Okay, purport. Shil Baldev Vidyabhushan, a great commentator on Bhagavad Gita, writes as follows. A Indradhi Agat Agathaya Vastitam Yajnam Sarvesham Vishnum Abhyarchatat Chesham Asnanthi Thena Taddeha Yatram Sambhadhyanti Te Santah Sarveshwarasya Yajna Purushasya Bhaktaha Sarva Kilbishair Anadikala Vivruddhai Atmanubhava Pratibandakhair Nikhilahi Papair Vimuchante. The Supreme Lord, who is known as the Yajna Purusha, or the personal beneficiary of all sacrifices, is the master of all demigods, who serve him as the different limbs of body serve the whole. The demigods like Indra, Chandra, Varuna are appointed officers who manage material affairs, and the Vedas direct sacrifice to satisfy these demigods, so that they may be pleased to supply air, light, and water uh, sufficiently to produce food and grains. So this is a very important thing. All of us are, it's a very, very common sense actually. All of us use water, electricity, and various needs that we have, and we pay bills for that. We have water bill, we have sewage, also the maintenance, we have to pay, and then we have electricity bill, and we have so many other bills that we need to pay. Whatever we use, we pay for it. So in the same way, here we are using natural resources like light, air, and rains, and food grains, and things like that. And people think that we don't need to pay any bills for this. And if we are sensible, then we'll ask that, no, I'm getting something, and I have not created this thing. So I'm getting it from somewhere. Somebody is in charge of this. How should I pay back for this? Any any person with a little common sense will ask this thing, that I'm using something, it's not mine. So then whom should I pay for, and what is it like I'm utilizing? So in this world, people have gone to such a low level of consciousness that something is available, and let's just utilize it, and let's just plunder it. That's all. So they are not asking who's giving it, why it has been given, how should I repay, and things like that. So that is yajna. That is the way of repaying for this natural resources is called yajna. And by performance of yajna, we can keep the natural resources on. So now, going forward, we are seeing that as the time is progressing, the natural resources are depleting, and people are making so many theories, why the ozone layer depletion is happening, why the ice in the Antarctic, Arctic regions and all, why they are getting melted, and why the temperature is going up, why water resources are going down. People are making so much of scientific study and things like that, but nobody is able to solve the problem. The problem is going more deeper and deeper only. So it is because there is no yajna that is happening. So the situation will keep deteriorating. And the Kali Yuga, as it progresses, the yajna will be very, very less. And then it will become very, very hard to live in this world. The world will become such an unbearably difficult place to live in. That's the kind of condition that will happen if there is no sufficient yajnas are performed. So, that's one of the reasons that if we, sometimes devotees ask, like, why should we preach Krishna consciousness? So if we have to live nicely and happily in this world, so then at least mass of people should perform some level of yajna. That is when we will get rains, we will get also our food grains and things like that. Even for selfish sake, it is very important that people in general has to become Krishna conscious. People in general has to start perform some yajnas. Otherwise, in the process of in the way of chanting the names of the Lord, in the way of studying Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and reciting them and things like that, and offering food grains to the Lord, in sacrifice before we accept it as prasad. So these are all very, very important aspects, right? Okay. When Lord Krishna is worshipped, the demigods, who are different limbs of the Lord, are automatically worshipped. Therefore, there is no separate need to worship the demigods. For this reason, the devotees of the Lord who are in Krishna consciousness offer food to Krishna and then eat, a process which nourishes the body spiritually. By such action, not only are the past sinful reactions in the body vanquished, but the body becomes immunized to all contamination of material nature. When there is an epidemic disease, an antiseptic vaccine protects a person from the attack of such an epidemic. Similarly, food offered to Lord Vishnu and taken by us makes us sufficiently resistant to material affection, and one who is accustomed to this practice is called a devotee of the Lord. Therefore, a person in Krishna consciousness who eats only food offered to Krishna can counteract all reaction of past material infections, which are impediments to the progress of self-realization. It's not only just protecting us from the current sin, it is also going to destroy the sins in the past. It's very, very powerful. And then infections that are there. So the deep rooted, anarthas that we have, all these things also can be, removed by the process of accepting only prasad. Right? On the other hand, one who does not do so continues to increase the volume of sinful action, and this prepares the next body to resemble hogs and dogs, to suffer the resultant reaction of all sins. The material world is full of contaminations, and one who is immunized by accepting prasadam of the Lord, food offered to Vishnu. No, specifically it is mentioned here, food offered to Vishnu, not to any Devi Devata. No, that is not prasadam. So it's like, no, the Devatas themselves, no, it is mentioned sacrifice should be offered to please the demigods, but then the demigods themselves are not the purifying agent. Even for demigods, if something is to be offered, it has to be first offered to Vishnu, and only Vishnu prasad can be distributed to the demigods, even if we at all want to do any demigod worship. Without Vishnu worship, there is no worship is there. Even to worship demigods, we need to worship Vishnu first. Okay. So immunized by accepting prasadam, of the Lord, that is food that is offered to the Lord, is saved from the attack, whereas one who does not do so becomes subjected to contamination. Right? So people who just take food without offering, just cook and eat, they are getting so much volumes of sins actually. Okay, food grains or vegetables are factually eatables. The human beings eat different kinds of food grains, vegetables, fruits, etc. And the animals eat the refuse of food grains and vegetables, that is grass, plants, etc. Human beings who are accustomed to eating meat and flesh must also depend on the production of vegetation in order to eat the animals. Therefore, ultimately, we have to depend on the production of the field and not the production of big factories. The field production is due to sufficient rain from the sky, and such rains are controlled by the demigods like Indra, sun, moon, etc. And they are all servants of the Lord. The Lord can be satisfied by sacrifices. Therefore, one who cannot perform them will find himself in scarcity. That is the law of nature. Yajna, specifically the Sankirtan Yajna prescribed for this age, must therefore be performed to save us at least from the scarcity of food supply. So, as we were mentioning before, without Yajna, there'll be serious crisis in the world. Serious crisis in the world. If we, just by we sitting in our home and chanting the Hare Krishna mantra and studying the Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, we are doing a great social service. No, we are actually helping the society at large by creating some kind of a positive vibration, which can actually produce rains and like make the food supply in a better way, right? So it is a major service. Sometimes people ask that you people are just sitting in one place and then chanting. What is the use of your this one? What are you doing to the society? We see how by performing yajna, so we can actually do good to the society, right? So we are joining here for hearing Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is very auspicious actually. By doing so, we are actually helping the society, and more people should take up to this culture. This culture of chanting the names of the Lord and hearing about the glories of the Lord. So this is the prime duty of every living entity. And by performing this, automatically we will get all the necessities of life. Okay, text 15. Karma brahmodbhavam vidhi brahmakshara samudbhavam tasmat sarvagatam brahma nityam yajne pratishtitam. Regulated activities are prescribed in the Vedas, and the Vedas are directly manifested from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, the all-pervading transcendence is eternally situated in acts of sacrifice. So here we see that regulated activities are prescribed in the Vedas, like all the Varnashram Dharma is like it's all prescribed in the Vedas, and the Vedas are directly manifested from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the Lord's breathing, and the Lord's it actually manifests from the Lord's personality, and then consequently, all-pervading transcendence is eternally situated in acts of sacrifice. So, how to actually realize the Lord or how to actually access the Lord? It's through the medium of sacrifice or yajna, and for us, it is through the medium of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. It's the most important aspect of the Sankirtan Yajna, right? Purport: Yajnartha karma, or necessity of work for satisfaction of Krishna only, is more expressly stated in this verse. If we have to work for the satisfaction of the Yajna Purusha, Vishnu, then we must find out the direction of work in Brahman or transcendental Vedas. So, like we have to, it is very clearly mentioned, if we have to please the Supreme Lord, so then we have to find how to please the Lord, in the Vedas. That is, Vedas is also called as Shabda Brahman. So we have to find it in the Vedas. We cannot just cook up our own ways and means. Then we will not be able to find how to please the Lord. So the Vedas are therefore codes of working directions. Anything performed without the direction of the Vedas is called vikarma, or unauthorized or sinful work. Therefore, one should always take direction from Vedas to be saved from the reaction of work. So it's very clear. Previously we had seen some graphs in this regard. So vikarma means anything that is going against the Vedic direction, that becomes vikarma. So any work that is performed without consultation of the Vedas becomes unauthorized, and it becomes vikarma, or sinful work. So therefore, one should always take direction from the Vedas to be saved from the reaction of work. As one has to work in ordinary life by the direction of the state, one similarly has to work under the direction of the supreme state of the Lord. Such direction in the Vedas are directly manifested from the breathing of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? So, as I was mentioning before, so the Vedas emanate from the breathing of the Lord. Okay. It is said, Asya Mahato Bhutasya Nishvashitam Etad Yad Rigvedo Yajurvedaha Samavedo Atharvan Grishaha. The four Vedas, namely the Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, and Atharva Veda, are all emanations from the breathing of the great personality of Godhead. So this is from Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad. So all the Vedas come from the breathing of the Lord. The Lord, being omnipotent, can speak by breathing air. As for it is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, the Lord has the omnipotence to perform through each of his senses the action of all other senses. In other words, the Lord can speak through his breathing. He can impregnate by his eyes. No tad akshita. So that is the one of the Vedic aphorism. So how did the whole material creation started? No, it is by the glance of the Lord. No, by the glance of the Lord, he impregnated all the living entities into the material nature. So in this way, he can impregnate by his eyes. In fact, it is said that he glanced over material nature and thus fathered all living entities. After creating or impregnating the conditioned souls into the womb of material nature, he gave his directions in the Vedic wisdom as to how such conditioned souls can return home back to Godhead. We should always remember that the conditioned souls in the material nature are all eager for material enjoyment, but the Vedic directions are so made that one can satisfy one's perverted desires, then return to Godhead, having finished his so called enjoyment. It is a chance for the conditioned souls to attain liberation. Therefore, the conditioned souls must try to follow the process of yajna by becoming Krishna conscious. Even those who have not followed the Vedic injunctions may adopt the principles of Krishna consciousness, and that will take place of and that will take the place of performance of Vedic yajnas or karmas, right? So we have to by performing this Krishna consciousness, we are performing the yajnas, right? So by the way of chanting, and by the way of hearing, and by the way of offering foodstuffs to the Lord, and by the way of offering arati and other procedures, and remembering the Lord and things like that. So we are performing yajnas, and that is a very, very essential aspect, right? Okay, there is a question whether it is sinful to work in industries, corporate companies, which is against the laws of nature. Yes, the work in itself is, if we see, it is vikarma itself, and sometimes it is called as ugra karma. So wherein we are working, especially if we see the industries and companies, their ultimate goal of them is what? No, they are supporting meat industry. They are supporting, no, all that they are trying to do is an act of sense gratification. No, they are just trying to enhance the sense gratification in the world. So it is definitely sinful, and especially it is mentioned in the like Srimad Bhagavatam, Kaler dosha nide rajan. So it is like we cannot just, it is not just this one, the work in the industries and corporates. Anything and everything you touch in Kali Yuga, it is completely against the Vedic tradition, completely against the God given laws. That is why Krishna is also mentioning it is quite difficult for us to completely avoid sin. No, for people in the Kali Yuga, at least we have to avoid a greater extent. No, and over a period of time we should also come out of these things. So that is why, in ISKCON we are striving for trying to create some farms and some kind of natural living back to our scriptural directions and things like that. But it will take some time. Till the time, people have to survive, they have to take some jobs in these kind of sinful environment. But then if we can chant the names of the Lord, and if we accept only prasad and things like that, we can actually minimize the effect to great extent. And then we should see that all of us should be eager that when we will get out of this industries and corporates. So we should just earn for some time, and then we should get out of this whole game. No, it is not that till the end of the life we will be working like this. No, it is very dangerous actually. So we have to get out of these things. And Srila Prabhupada in his book called Hare Krishna Challenge, there he mentions that no, this is all Ugra Karma, this is all this industries and this companies and all is like seriously sinful. And then he says, okay, what to do? Like people don't have any other option. So they can just work there, and they chant, and then they practice Krishna consciousness seriously. And then one devotee asked, like, is it that our plan to destroy all these things, no, by preaching the message of Krishna consciousness? Then Prabhupada told, yes, no, we want to destroy all these things. No, we want to finish all these industries and the factories and things like that. And we want to create the natural environment, which has been lost. And now we see in this period of pandemic, we saw that, for a long time, the vehicles and major transportations and major industries were shut down. And then we saw that the air and the natural phenomena were much better actually. So we could able to get a little glimpse of the natural resources, how it is. And we can see, like, if we go back to our natural way of life, it will be very, very nice. It will be very, very nice. So in one sense, in Kali Yuga we cannot change everything completely. That is also very difficult. So that is why this shloka in Srimad Bhagavatam says, Kaler dosha nidhe rajan. Dosha nidhi means it's an ocean of faults. No, Kaler dosha nidhe rajan, astin ekon mahan guna. Even amongst this, there is one good quality that is there. Kirtana deva krishnasya. Just by performing the Sankirtan of Lord Krishna's name, Mukta Sangha Param Brajet. So a person can attain mukti. A person can proceed in the path of liberation. So we should try to avoid as much as possible to get out of the sinful way of life, and then come to a very proper spiritually legal way of life. All of us are living spiritually illegal life actually. All of us are living a criminal life. So it has to be changed, and every act of our life has to turn into yajna, right? So then it becomes like very, very purifying, and it can help the society. Not only help us, it can help a greater society, right? So that's the benefit of performing yajnas and practicing Krishna consciousness. Okay, so let's continue. Evam pravartitam chakram nanuvartayathi haya ahayurindriyaramo mogam partasa jivati. My dear Arjuna, one who does not follow in human life the cycle of sacrifice thus established by the Vedas certainly lead us life full of sin. Living only for the satisfaction of the senses, such person lives in vain. Right. So this is very, very strong shloka. It says that one who's not like practicing this one who is like not following the cycle of sacrifice. It is very, very important that our life should be molded in such a way that we perform some sacrifices. Otherwise it is going to be very difficult, very problematic. Purport: the Mammonist philosophy of work hard and enjoy sense gratification is condemned herein by the Lord. Therefore, for those who want to enjoy this material world, the above mentioned cycle of performing yajnas is absolutely necessary. No, even to have sense gratification, this is very important point that is mentioned. Even to have sense gratification, a person has to means perform yajnas. So without performing yajnas, forget about advancing in spiritual life, going to the spiritual world and things like that. Even for the sake of sense gratification, a person has to perform yajnas. That's very, very necessary actually. And one who does not follow such regulations is living a very risky life, being condemned more and more. By nature's law, this human form of life is specifically meant for self realization in either of the three ways, namely Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, or Bhakti Yoga. There is no necessity of rigidly following the performances of the prescribed yajnas for the transcendentalists who are above vices and virtue. But those who are engaged in sense gratification require purification by the above mentioned cycle of yajna performances. So, no, for example, here it is mentioned that those people who want to have material sense gratification, they have more number of yajnas to be performed. Like for every sense gratification he wants to do, he has to perform some yajna. But then people who are just want to like please the Supreme Lord, they want to be engaged in Bhakti Yoga, their yajna performances are much more simpler, much more easy to perform, just like chanting the names of the Lord or studying the scriptures and glorifying the Lord. It's very sweet. It's so easy. This performance of yajna is very sweet and easy. But people who want to do sense gratification, they have to do much elaborate scales of yajna, and which is quite tedious. Because they want sense gratification, they have to pay for it, right? So in that way. Okay, there are different kinds of activities. Those who are not Krishna conscious are certainly engaged in sensory consciousness, right? So means they are called as Godas, Goswami and Godas. Goswami means one who has controlled his senses by engaging the senses in the service of the Lord. And Godas means he is behind the senses. He is behind gratifying his senses. So therefore, they need to execute pious work. If they want to enjoy, then they have to pay for it. It's just like if somebody wants to live a content life, very simple life, he doesn't need to work very hard. So the working in the companies is like the yajnas are replaced by working in companies. So, but then it is getting more difficult and difficult day by day. So, if I want more luxury, more posh house, more facilities and things like that, I need more money, then I have to work more. So in the Vedic language, if I want more sense gratification, then I have to do more pious work. That is when I'll be able to enjoy, right? So the yajna system is planned in such a way that sensory conscious person may satisfy their desires without becoming entangled in the reaction of sense gratificatory work. The prosperity of the world depends not on our own efforts, but on the background arrangement of the Supreme Lord, directly carried out by the demigods. Therefore, um, the yajnas are directly aimed at the particular demigods mentioned in the Vedas. Indirectly, it is the practice of Krishna consciousness. But when one masters the performance of yajnas, one is sure to become Krishna conscious. So now we see that various the yajnas for various devatas, Devi devatas are there, and the Vedas propose them and describe them. And if you see, these are all indirect worship of Krishna. Like for example, as I always mention this, people are used to performing this Ganesh Homa and the Ganesh Yajnas and all. So then when they perform that, they invoke Lord Vishnu and then offer the what is that results to Ganesha and to please him. So that's the way of pleasing the demigods. And if the demigods are pleased, they can get some work done, they can get some sense gratification for themselves done. So in this way, like the demigod yajnas are performed, but then that is very, very, for getting a little bit of benefit, they have to work so hard. So, but then if we perform direct sacrifice to Krishna, it becomes more simpler, and then we prepare ourselves to go back to the spiritual world. Okay. So indirectly, it is practice of Krishna consciousness, because when one masters the yajna performance, one is sure to become Krishna conscious. But if by performing yajnas one does not become Krishna conscious, such principles are counted as only moral codes. One should not therefore limit his progress only to the point of moral codes, but should transcend them to attain Krishna consciousness. So one should go further to attain Krishna consciousness. Okay. So in text 17, यस्त्व आत्मरतिर् एव स्याद् आत्मतृप्तश्च मानवः आत्मन्येव च सन्तुष्टस्तस्य कार्यं न विद्यते. But for one who takes pleasure in the self, whose human life is one of self realization, and who is satisfied in the self only, fully satiated, for him there is no duty. No. So here we see that a person, material duties, when does the material duties come? When I want sense gratification. But if I am no Atma Arama, so that means I am fully satisfied with myself. No, that means I am engaged in Krishna consciousness. I am not doing the material activities. No, I don't want any material benefits. So for enjoying for myself, no, whatever I want it only for Krishna. So then, no, I don't have any material duty to perform. No, immediately I become absolved of all the material duties, right? So that is what is mentioned here. A person who is fully Krishna conscious and is fully satisfied by his acts in Krishna consciousness no longer has any duty to perform. Due to his being Krishna conscious, all impiety within is instantly cleansed, an effect of many, many thousands of yajnas performed. By such cleansing of consciousness, one becomes fully confident of his eternal position in the relationship with the Supreme. His duty thus becomes self illuminated by the grace of the Lord, and therefore he no longer has any obligations to the Vedic injunctions. Such a Krishna conscious person is no longer interested in the material activities and no longer takes pleasure in material arrangements like wine, women, and similar infatuations. So here we see that no, here one aspect is mentioned. He no longer has any obligations for the Vedic injunctions. So just now, sometime back, we read that Vedas are emanations from the Lord, and why does a self-realized person doesn't have any obligation to the Vedic injunctions? So it is like, the Vedic injunctions is for everyone. Just like a person who has got a PhD, no, he no longer has to study the first standard, second standard book. No, that is not necessary. So, but first standard, second standard books are also needed. The people are there, some children are there at that level and they have to study. And a person who has come to the level of PhD, no, he doesn't need to do this elementary stuffs. No, so the Vedic injunctions are for those people. Actually 95 percentage of the Vedas talk about the karma kanda section, and this 95 percentage of the Vedas, why it is there? No, for those people who want to enjoy this material world, and for them, okay, if you want to enjoy, you do this yajnas and then you enjoy. And for a person who has come to the point of, no, I just simply want to please the Lord, no, the Vedas say, okay, fine, no, you are absolved of all this one, you don't need to do any of these Vedic rituals, you just simply serve the Supreme Lord. So that's just the 5% or even lesser than that is what is the pure devotional service aspects that are mentioned. So that is like Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita falls under the category of this no pure scriptures. No other scriptures are classified under mode of goodness, mode of passion, and mode of ignorance. And we don't need to follow the scriptures which are in these different modes, or which are helping the people of these different modes to practice, right? So in that way we don't need to follow those scriptures. For us, if we can just follow Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, that is sufficient. That's full in itself, right? Okay, we'll go to the next sloka, text 18. नैव तस्य कृतेनार्थो न कृतेनेह कश्चन न छायस्य सर्वभूतेषु कश्चित् अर्थव्यपाश्रयः. A self-realized man has no purpose to fulfill in discharge of his prescribed duties, nor has he any reason not to perform such work, nor has he any need to depend on any other living being. So, purport: a self realized man is no longer obliged to perform any prescribed duty, save and except activities in Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is not an inactivity either, as will be explained in the following verses. A Krishna conscious man does not take shelter of any person, man, or demigod. Whatever he does in Krishna consciousness is sufficient in the discharge of his obligation. So, this is in the same lines as we were studying the previous slokas. Okay, text 19. Tasmad ashaktah satatam karyam karma samachara ashakto hi acharan karma param apnoti purushah. Therefore, without being attached to the fruits of activities, one should act as a matter of duty. For by working without attachment, one attains the supreme. Right? So we should, in this world, even a self-realized person, though he doesn't have any obligation, he works. And why is he working? No, he's working for the pleasure of Krishna. No, he's not working for himself. He's working for pleasure of Krishna. And when he's working for pleasure of Krishna, then he is working without attachment to the things of this world, and he's just with detachment. When he works in this way, he actually treads the path of liberation. Okay, purport: the supreme is the personality of Godhead for the devotees and liberation for the impersonalists. A person therefore acting for Krishna consciousness, or in Krishna consciousness, under the proper guidance and without attachment to the results of the work, is certainly making progress towards the supreme goal of life. Arjuna is told that he should fight in the battle of Kurukshetra for the interest of Krishna, because Krishna wanted him to fight. To be a good man or a non-violent man is a personal attachment, but to act on behalf of Krishna is to act without attachment for the results. Very, very important point. It mentions, it's like we have to, the main battle that we have to actually fight is that all of us have personal attachments, right? So, no personal likes and dislikes. Just a minute, there's an airplane that is going. Just yeah. So all of us have some personal likes and dislikes. So when we give up our personal likes and dislikes, and when we take up the Supreme Lord's dictation, through the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, so then we become eligible for going back to the spiritual world, right? So this is very, very important aspect. So in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, we see that Arjuna was telling, oh, like, I don't want to fight, no, this I don't like, that I don't like, no, this will have this problem, that will have that problem. So then Krishna is trying to convince him in so many different ways. But then final, no, this one in the Bhakti Yoga, in the Karma Yoga, Krishna is telling, okay, no, you are a Kshatriya, you should perform this work and things like that. And no, in this way, like in every yoga, like he's actually mentioning, and then he's telling that, okay, you should fight, no. And finally, Krishna says, you see, like, forget about all these yogas. No, I am the master of everything that exists, and no, like everybody should work for my pleasure, and it is my decision that this war has to happen. So better you fight. So it is, that is the transformation that actually comes. And finally Arjuna says, okay, fine, Krishna, whatever you say, I'm just following. No, that's it. No karishye vachanam tava. So when Arjuna mentions like this, so then that is a transformation actually we see in the Bhagavad Gita. A man who was completely in anxiety because of his personal choices. So at the end of Bhagavad Gita, we see that he's completely accepting Krishna's choice, and then he's very, very happy, right? Okay, so it is not very important to be a non-violent man or a good man. It's very important to be attached to the Supreme Lord and to act for his pleasure. No, that's very important. So this is perfect action of the highest degree, recommended by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Vedic rituals like prescribed sacrifices are performed for purification of impious activities that were performed in the field of sense gratification, but action in Krishna consciousness is transcendental to reactions of good or evil work. A Krishna conscious person has no attachment for the results but acts on behalf of Krishna alone. He engages in all kinds of activities but is completely non attached. Okay, so we will see one more sloka, text 20. कर्मणैव हि संसिद्धिम् आस्थिता जनकादयः लोकसङ्ग्रहम् एवापि सम्पश्यन् कर्तुमर्हसि. Kings such as Janaka attained perfection solely by performance of prescribed duties. Therefore, just for the sake of educating the people in general, you should perform your work. Purport: Kings like Janaka were all self-realized souls, so consequently they have had no obligation to perform the prescribed duties in the Vedas. Nonetheless, they performed all prescribed activities just to set example for the people in general. Janaka was the father of Sita and father-in-law of Lord Sri Rama. Being a great devotee of the Lord, he was transcendently situated, but because he was the king of Mithila, a subdivision of Bihar province in India, he had to teach his subjects how to perform prescribed duties. Lord Krishna and Arjuna, the Lord's eternal friends, had no need to fight in the battle of Kurukshetra, but they fought to teach people in general that violence is also necessary in a situation where good arguments fail. Both the battle of Kurukshetra, uh, before the battle of Kurukshetra, every effort was made to avoid the war, even by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But the other party was determined to fight. So, for such a right cause, there is a necessity for fighting. Although one who is situated in Krishna consciousness may not have any interest in the world, he still works to teach the public how to live and how to act. Experienced persons in Krishna consciousness can act in such a way that others will follow, and this is explained in the following verse. Okay, so no, this is quite self-explanatory. So there is some question. Any work done in material world will be a cause of bondage, have their reactions. So many a times we are not thinking anything, we just do and act as events happen. Many good and bad emotions and acts are spontaneous. I also feel we do so many so-called good deeds as we fear if we don't, we will gather sin. So we don't have the ability to say no, and the reaction follows. Does this mean that analysis, emotions, reactions, and questions we go through when the reciprocation or end result was not our way in that job or deed lead to accumulation of negative karma? See, like generally, people in general, they have to be sinful. There is no way that no people in general can avoid sin. So as we get educated in Krishna consciousness, so this spontaneous act that is there, so we will become spontaneously Krishna conscious. No, we will react for everything in the life, no, in a Krishna conscious way. So that becomes our second nature. No, so now right now the spontaneity is not based on scriptures. No, we are trying to study and become a devotee of the Lord. And once we become a nice devotee of the Lord, and once we know in what situation how to act and how to respond to and things like that, so then it becomes very very easy, no, so that we are in the intermediate state, and we should understand that we cannot avoid sin in this world. It is quite difficult to avoid sin, and by becoming Krishna conscious, so we will avoid the deliberate sins, no, deliberately performed sins we will avoid. So but then while walking, we may have to crush some ants and things like that. While breathing, so many bacteria are getting killed and things like that. So in a very micro level, we are always committing sins, that is there. And in a practical level, as you have mentioned, so many events happen, and then we react to that in a spontaneous way, and then that may not be as it is advised by the what is that as it is advised by the scriptures. So no, it may result as a sinful this one. So that is why Krishna also mentions that if we sincerely give a try, no, Krishna is not going to see like this one, baniya ki, like you see, like this person has done so much good and so much bad. Accordingly, I will give him the punishments and things like that. One good thing about the Lord is He is so merciful. No, even though we are committing so many sins, If our ultimate goal is that I want to be sinless and I want to attain the lotus feet of the Lord, and consciously we are trying to take whatever precautions is possible, and then we are moving towards Krishna consciousness, so then the Lord actually saves such a living entity. So that is why we should be very, very grateful to the Lord that in Kali Yuga, amongst so much of sinful this ones, by studying like what all ways we can actually be sinful, so we can just understand that in Kali Yuga there is no way to be pious. It is, we have to be, must we have to be sinful. No, it is so bad actually. Even if we buy what is that some products, even toothpaste or even some any ordinary thing from any shop, definitely it will have some hand in meat industry. Definitely it will have some portion of some sinful this ones. It is very, very difficult, very, very difficult to avoid sin in Kali Yuga. And that is why we should be very, very grateful to the Lord. No, such a process has been given to us. Kaler dosha niderajan astine kon mahan guna kirtanadeva krishnasya mukta sangha param vrajet. So no, Krishna has given such a process that no, he is like, no, in Kali Yuga it is a hopeless case. If people have to become, all people have to become pious, and then they have to avoid all the sins and things like that, it is a hopeless case. So that is why Krishna gives this process of chanting of Hare Krishna mantra. But then it is not a license. No, we can just chant and we can do all sinful activities. So we understand that we are caught up in so much of sins, but we have to move out of it as no, like gradually, as we are able to understand spiritual truths. So more we chant, more we progress in Krishna consciousness, more our consciousness will become clear, and more we will know spontaneously. We will know what is right and what is wrong, and we will do things accordingly, right? So no, in a conditioned state, it is very, very difficult to avoid sin. It's quite difficult to avoid sin. So we should try our best to avoid sin, and rest of it, no, we cannot do much. And as we advance, we will become more and more sinless. Okay, so we will end the session now. And thank you all very much for joining for this reading session. And this auspicious Kartik month, we are doing this devotional service all the time, but especially in Kartik month and this auspicious times, it becomes the results of our activity of hearing becomes many, many fold multiplied, right? Okay, so we have to be always grateful to Srila Prabhupada. Because of him, we are able to get such an opportunity to come together and hear Krishna Katha. So Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Hare Krishna.